tale from the heart of 78. Nelson woke up to the first snowfall of a new year. It was a bright, fair day. It was white snow. It was the first accumulating snow of the year, and that meant homemade donuts. That had been a tradition in his family for years. On the first accumulating snowfall, his mother made donuts, and now his wife made donuts. On the first accumulating snowfall. But before the donuts, Nelson decided to go downstairs and exercise. And so he went downstairs. And he'd been down there for a while, and his wife decided to go down and check on him. When she went downstairs, she found him laying on the floor on his back, looking kind of strung out, breathing kind of hard. And she said, "Dear, are you okay?" And he said, "Jillian Michaels kicked my hind end. But I'm having some chest pains now." And she said, "Well, why don't you come upstairs to the basement? Because if you pass out, I won't be able to do anything for you down here." So he, his chest pains, went upstairs, and he sat down in his recliner to think for a minute. Nelson was the youngest of 3 boys, and he grew up in a respectable family. Out in the country, they were leaders in their country church, and they held a lot of positions in local politics, boards of directors, and such. And as one would put it, little Nelson, he was a rounder. I think he liked trouble a little bit. And by the time he was in his late teens, he'd been experimenting with some things on the outer reaches of life, drugs and alcohol. To the point that a skateboard slipped out from underneath him at one point. He broke both arms in one fall. And then not far into his 20s, Nelson found himself in jail. And while he was in jail, he had a lot of time to think and pray. And the prayer that he kept coming back to was that he really wanted God to give him a woman. And so when he got out of jail, he was still praying that prayer. And he'd only been out of jail about 3 months when he met a woman. He'd been attending AA meetings. That's not where he met her, but he'd been attending AA meetings. And they had been telling him at the AA meetings that he shouldn't date for a while, maybe for a year or more. But he met this lady after about 3 months, and he decided he would take God's prodding over AA's advice. So he asked her out. She said yes, even though she was a little skittish about commitment, especially commitment to a guy who just got out of jail. She had to drive on their first few dates because Nelson had lost his license. And after the first date, that woman, she went home and she told her mother what a terrible person Nelson was, and what terrible things he said, and how pushy and opinionated he was, and her mom said she knew then that she was going to marry him. Nelson was opinionated and stubborn, with a wide streak of kindness a mile long. He was that rare combination of unfiltered honesty and unfiltered love. So she married him, and he married her. Nelson and his wife set up housekeeping across the country road from his parents, and he was back in good graces again. He had a daughter and a son, and he opened his own computer store, sales and repair. But he also loved to raise cows with his dad, and that's an uncommon combination, computer sales and cattle. Nelson had one cow that only had one eye from an unfortunate accident with a stick, and that cow liked to stomp his foot, but he said she still acted better than most customers acted. Nelson himself, he was a bit of a thrill seeker. He loved to ride roller coasters with his daughter, and he once had lost 80 pounds just so he could fit in the roller coasters with harnesses. Another time he bought an old satellite dish to use as a sled on the snow, and Nelson pulled it all over the farm behind the four-wheeler at high speed with his daughter riding in the light until he ran her into a tree and sent her flying. Took his young son to Kentucky Kingdom once to ride the huge water slide there, and they both climbed to the top, and the attendant, on accident, sent the son down alone, the young son down alone, scared to death. Nelson tried to jump quickly to save his son, but the attendant stopped him. And he tossed the attendant off, and he yelled, "Hold on, Peanut, Daddy's coming." And he threw himself down the slide after his son. And at the bottom of the slide, security was waiting. They escorted him to a holding place, and they said, "The attendant says that you punched him. And he said, I'll tell you this, if I had punched that attendant, he'd stay punched. But they took him into custody. But the joke was on there because he realized as he was sitting there that he forgot to put his underwear on. He finally asked, am I under arrest? And they said no. And he said, can I leave if I promise to never come back to Kentucky Kingdom again? And they said yes, and he left. He didn't need Kentucky or its kingdom. He was happy in the heart of Southern Indiana. And so he settled into life, and he raised bees, and he helped found the local beekeeping club. And when his parents died, his wife and he moved across the road back into the boyhood home. Life had come full circle. He thought about all this as he sat there in his chair with his chest pains. First accumulating snow of the year. His wife, when they were first married, had once tried to make donuts when it was simply flurrying outside, and he had to correct her. It's the first accumulating snow, and she said, well, should I throw the donuts out? And he said, well, heavens no, we're still going to eat them. He sat there thinking in his chair, his chest pains. Things started to get dark. He was only 51. And a couple of hours later, they announced at the church house, because that's what Nelson liked to call it, the church house, that Nelson had just died of a heart attack. And the men in the congregation stared out the window at the snow on that fair, fair morning with the light. And the women looked at each other in shock. It was Nelson. How could anyone die on such a bright, fair day? And they sat in silence for a while, until one voice took up the melody. There's a land